Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase, and I'm here with a very important message. We are at a turning point in the Black community where we must have equity in the apps we use that scale to billions of dollars. But this time, we own the infrastructure, we own the culture, and we shape the future. And Fanbase is the future. Fanbase combines the free functionality of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube into an all-in-one platform built for the evolution of social media and monetization. With over 1.4 million users, that's real proof that we are shifting the conversation of tech ownership and equity for creators. So right now, I want you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. This marks a turning point in Black ownership of social media. If we don't take this opportunity to own social media right now, we will always be customers to our own creations. And that can't go on. So once again, go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. We must own the platforms where our voices live, our stories matter, and where our culture drives the world. Thank you.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? All right, folks, today is Wednesday, October 15, 2025. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Day 15, the government shutdown. The Senate has failed once again to reach a deal. Guess who's whining and complaining? House Speaker Mike Johnson. Congressman Joe Morrell and DNC Chair Ken Martin will be joining us on today's show. Supreme Court heard oral arguments that could wipe out up to half the Congressional Black Caucus. Folks, the Nation Justice correspondent Elie Mystal will join us. And hey, despite immaculate arguments from the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, Janae Nelson, looks like these conservative Supreme Court justices are going to gut the 1965 Voting Rights Act. Folks, this is real. Another candidate running for the Texas 18th Congressional District joins us. Amanda Edwards will be on the show. Of course, with the Voting Rights Act hanging in the balance, black grassroots organizations are ramping up their efforts to protect our voting power. We'll talk with a Florida advocate who's working to get black folks out to vote. Plus, this Afrotech comes back to Houston. We'll be broadcasting live from there. We'll talk about the conference. Plus, this white influencer has a lot to say about racism in the country. Wait until he'll show you what he has to say. Packed show. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
All right, folks, the U.S. Senate failed again today to move forward with a bill to reopen the government. It was the 9th time it has fallen short of this shutdown. House Speaker Mike Johnson says the House will not return to vote on the $852 billion Pentagon bill slated for Thursday unless Senate Democrats first agree to reopen the government. Something tells me it has to do with Jeffrey Epstein as well. New York Representative Joe Morelle joins us right now. Glad to have you on the show, Congressman. I mean, let's just be real.
Speaker, thank you.
Let's just be real. Speaker Mike Johnson is scared to death of the Jeffrey Epstein files. He won't seat the Arizona Democrat who was elected there as well. And so what games is he playing here? This is not about, frankly, the budget where we stand. He is trying to protect Republicans from this very issue and using this government shutdown as cover.
Yeah, there's no question. This is a really dark time in Washington. Not only the shutdown, but you're right, all the efforts to stop Adelita Grijalva from taking her seat in Arizona, which has now been several weeks since her election, so the people in that community don't have any representation, and that is to protect the president, apparently, from what's in the Epstein files. They keep saying nothing, but there's obviously something going on. And then you mentioned the Supreme Court oral arguments today that would basically has the potential of decimating what's left of the Voting Rights Act, and the committee that I'm the top Democrat on has oversight on federal elections. So I'm very, very concerned about that. It is, it seems surreal, but it's now becoming the new reality in Trump's Washington.
And listen, earlier today, folks, let me know when y'all have the clip ready. The speaker was whining and complaining because a number of Democrats marched down to his office demanding that he seat this duly elected member of Congress. And forgive me if he sounded a bit like a hypocrite. Y'all roll this.
Today, if it weren't for the bold leadership of President Trump helping us to protect our military, everyone needs to understand that 1.3 million active duty service members would be missing a paycheck. They'll get their check, thankfully, because President Trump has shown strong leadership. And under his direction, the Department of War has now redirected unspent funds to ensure that our troops are taken care of. And this is while Democrats are playing political games. Last night, they played some games. They stormed my office. Maybe you saw some of the video online that they themselves shared, or someone did. They berated a Capitol Police officer, screamed at him. He was just merely standing his post. Shows again their disdain for law enforcement, as we see all around the country, the Democrats and everyone in that party screaming, assaulting ICE officers. They did it right here in the Capitol last night. A few members of Congress went into the little foyer of my office and tore down a sign that I had up and just engaged in all sorts of political stunts and antics. They've been doing that every day now, and it shows their desperation. It also shows a very strong contrast between the party that is working for the people and trying to keep the government open and do the right thing, and the party that is engaging in all this nonsense.
Congressman Morelle did this? Oh, my God, look at this. How dare you Democrats, express the First Amendment and you come down and you are, you're sitting here and you're making these demands and then we listened. Oh, my goodness. We listened to him say how they accosted Capitol Police, and oh my God, how bad this is. I'm sorry, is this not the same speaker that has refused to actually post a plaque that was passed by members of Congress to honor the Capitol Police? Oh, I'm sorry. This is January 6th. So forgive me if it's, oh, my goodness, how dare they? This is just so wrong what they're doing when that happened on January 6th.
Yeah, this is the height of cynicism, hypocrisy. Look, in truth, the Speaker has sold out the interests of the American people, protecting the Congress as a separate institution. He's really become simply just an employee of Donald Trump. He doesn't do anything without the blessing of the president. And it's so, frankly, just beneath the office. And you know what? We've sworn Republican members of the House in during pro forma sessions when we're not in voting. And the Speaker knows that very well. And yet he continues to thwart the will of the people in Arizona who elected Representative-elect Grijalva. It is disgraceful. And to your point, I mean, we have a federal law. It's not just a suggestion, a federal law that a plaque be installed in the Capitol honoring the brave men and women, not only of the Capitol Police Force, but the National Guard and all who responded on January 6, 2021, when President Trump attempted an overthrow of the United States government. And, I know everybody wants to whitewash it on the Republican side, and the president wants to pretend it didn't happen. But where's Mike Johnson there? Where's Mike Johnson in upholding the law and protecting the interests of law enforcement? It's disgraceful, but I've come to expect it because he, in the long line of speakers, is the first to not demonstrate any independence, not to hold in high regard the institution of Congress, which is the direct will of the people. I mean, we run every other year. The House of Representatives was established by the framers to be the closest voice to the people, and he is doing things that will take decades, if not longer, to repair the institution of the United States Congress. It is a sad and dark day here in Washington.
You see them all of a sudden talking about the moving over of resources and things along those lines. This is, though, all about health care. And I find it amazing to listen to Speaker Johnson, as well as the twice impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief Donald Trump, talk about their love of the military when they are also gutting the Department of Veteran Affairs and the health of even veterans. So not just non-veterans in this country, they're screwing everybody when it comes to health care.
Yeah, I mean, they have no plan on health care. All they know is that they want to take money out of Medicaid and Medicare, all in service of giving huge tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires. So they keep helping their friends and taking services away from people who desperately need it. I was at the dry cleaners the other day back in Rochester. A woman who's working said to me, I will not be able to afford health insurance if these subsidies aren't preserved. I don't know what I'm going to do. It's thousands of dollars more, and I'm working every day, but I can't afford this. I mean, that's repeated by the tens of thousands in New York alone, 150,000 in New York, millions across the country. When did we get to a point where the United States government decides to turn its back on people who desperately need essential services, all to give it to billionaires who don't need it and, frankly, have so much money they're not even going to realize the benefits they get? That's how crazy this is. But that's what the Republican Party has become, literally a shill for billionaires and turning its back on American citizens. So much for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They don't believe any of that. And I was commenting today, you mentioned the Supreme Court decision. Etched into the granite of the Supreme Court building is equal justice under law.
Right.
But there's scaffolding, so you can't see the engraved words. And in some ways, such a perfect metaphor for what's going on as the Supreme Court continues to chisel away at equal justice under law and is going to deny millions of people representation in the House of Representatives. It is such a disgrace. And you could tell from the oral arguments, they're prepared to cut out Section 2, which is the last remaining part of the Voting Rights Act and has allowed for representation of Black and brown Americans that never existed before. This is tragic. And as I say, I am so fearful for our republic, so fearful of this democracy, so fearful for all the gains we've made. We haven't gone nearly far enough, but we have made gains in the last 60 years, and they threaten to be wiped out by this ridiculous argument that the Equal Protection Clause doesn't allow us to take into consideration race when it comes to people's opportunity to access and vote for people that they think will represent them. It's literally like Alice in Wonderland. What's up is down, what's in is out. It's hard to sort of process any longer.
I have, of course, been trying to raise awareness of this issue, been making it perfectly clear to people that this court case today, the one out of Louisiana, it could do massive, massive damage to Black political rights in this country, especially in the South. And I sit here, and as I think about that, I think about this right here. At least go to my iPad, that farewell address by George H. White. on January 29th, 1901, when he was the last remaining African American in Congress. And after you had the election of 1876, the Great Compromise of 1877. You saw the rollback of the 1875 Civil Rights Law. You saw Plessy versus Ferguson. You saw an absolute attack on black representation. And unfortunately, Congressman Morelli, we are going back to that. I wrote a book called White Fear. And what these Republicans are doing, they are angry about black success. They are angry about what we're seeing, and what they want to suggest is somehow, oh no, we don't have to look at race, when the fact of the matter is they're using race to draw these so-called partisan gerrymandering, and this goes beyond Congress. This is going to impact black elected officials, Congress, state houses, county government, city government, school districts. This is going to wipe out 60 years of American progress in politics if they rule based upon how they raise the questions today.
And honestly, this struggle has gone on for so long. I represent Rochester, New York, where Frederick Douglass chose to make his home, where he printed the North Star newspaper, where he did much of the work in his life. And it is in our DNA to fight for suffrage, for voting rights, and to see what is happening. To your point, this just isn't the House of Representatives. This goes to all levels of government. And I'm so disappointed in the United States Supreme Court. I'm not surprised, sadly, but honestly, what's happening, we won't recognize this democracy from what we have lived over the last 50 or 60 years and the progress we've made. It's halting. It has not been uniform by any means, but there has been progress, and this threatens to wipe that all out and then some.
Oh, absolutely. And I just want people to understand, and you say, where Frederick Douglass, where he worked, is also, and when you hear the phrase rolling in the grave, this is also, Rochester, New York is also where Frederick Douglass is buried. And when I was there, I went by and paid respects to his gravesite. And this is somebody who fought for these rights. And what we are seeing is and last point here, Congressman Morelli, and I said this, and to be honest, it used to piss me off when I would see these Republicans go down to Selma with Congressman John Lewis. And I said, this is a field trip to them, when it's life and death for the rest of us. And they would go down there, oh, John is so great. They would get all these plaudits and amazing. And I'm like, but how dare you stand against the very thing that man fought for and almost died for?
I had the great privilege. John Lewis was a hero. I used to see him in the chambers after I got elected, and I always say, Mr. Lewis, how are you? And he'd say, you can call me John. We're colleagues. I said, I appreciate that, Mr. Lewis. And I've been to Selma the last several years, and you're absolutely right. But people should not forget that for most of the last 60 years, the Voting Rights Act has received bipartisan support.
Yes.
From Republican presidents, Democratic presidents, members of Congress. It's really only in the Trump MAGA era where they have completely done a 180-degree turn and have now literally trying to do everything they can along with their, the partisans on the Supreme Court to chisel away at the foundation of this. And it's so dispiriting in this moment. Mount Hope Cemetery, right in Rochester, New York. We encourage people to come up and visit. And it's heartbreaking. I mean, for all the progress, this is just heartbreaking.
Well, we are not going to stop on this show. We'll absolutely focus on this. We appreciate you joining us and keep up the fight.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for all the work you do.
Thank you very much. Folks, we're going to go to a break. We come back. Lots we're dealing with here. We'll talk with Elie Mystal again. We're going to break down what happened at that Supreme Court hearing today, folks. Just devastating what took place. And we come back, we're going to play you some of those oral arguments to set up our conversation with Elie Mystal. That more right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Afrotech, it's a lot of beauty, a lot of brilliance, a lot of intellect, a lot of innovation.
Companies that are most diverse are more profitable.
We're getting culture, we're getting community, we're getting the best of the best. And not only are we here to greet each other, but we're here to network and to elevate each other.
everybody from all the major tech companies here, and that means that now everybody's in the same domain.
This is the premier event every year.
This is really where we could take off. You can go fast by yourself, but we go farther together.
This is where you're supposed to be.
This week on the other side of change.
We are talking about the government shutdown and how it's impacting our everyday lives, including our pocketbooks.
These motherfuckers are crazy as hell. They are willing to shut down the entire government, to force people to pay more in their health care, to subsidize tax breaks for the wealthiest people.
You're watching The Other Side of Change only on the Black Star Network.
This is Essence Atkins.
Mr. Love King of R&B, Raheem Devon.
It's me, Sherry Shepard, and you know what you're watching.
You're watching Roland Martin, Unfiltered.
Folks, always some interesting videos I come across on social media, and I saw this video here as a white gentleman talking about the issue that a lot of white folks in this country have, especially on the right. And so I saw it, and I said, you know what? We're going to give it some love because I thought he was absolutely on point with his breakdown. Watch.
You non-white people in this country can't seem to wrap your heads around the fact that white people in this country are grieving. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, let me show you the 5 stages of grief that white people in America have been going through since Obama was elected. The first stage is denial. And this happened right when Obama was first elected into office. We can't be racist. We elected a black man to serve as our president, even though I voted for the other guy twice. The second stage is anger. Holy shit! A black guy won again. Oh no. The third stage is bargaining. What do you mean Black Lives Matter? Don't all lives matter? The fourth stage is depression. Stop calling me racist. That's not nice when you call me racist. It hurts my feelings when you call me racist for doing the racist stuff that I do. And the fifth stage brings us to today, where we are right now. Acceptance. And I'm looking at you, Emily Saves the World, you piece of shit, just openly supporting white supremacy. A restaurant opens, is being called out for white supremacy, and that makes you want to go there. You just say the quiet part out loud now. And that's where this country is. If it's not grief that white supremacists are experiencing, what else do you call it? I have lived as a straight white male for 39 years in Los Angeles, and I have never seen so many sad boys in my entire fucking life. And now, we're just saying the quiet parts out loud, aren't we? We are just okay with the way the world is, with these ignorant, stupid fucking white people just putting their racism on display. Let me tell you something as a straight white male. If you are a straight white male in this country and you can't get a girlfriend, you can't get a job, you can't pay your bills, you have nobody to blame but yourself. This fucking country was built for you, you fucking loser. And I don't care what state you live in. I know that you people in Arkansas and Alabama have the worst fucking education system in the entire country. But you know what? People in other countries will literally swim here to get half the opportunity that you, a straight white person in this country, have. They will fucking fight tooth and nail. They will leave their friends, their family, everything that they know behind just to survive. And you have nothing but time to make excuses and feel disenfranchised by trans people in your sports, by fucking minorities taking jobs that you would never even fucking apply to. Grow the fuck up. Grow a pair of fucking balls. I'm not here for your comments if you disagree with me. I don't give a fuck about your engagement. I'm right, you're wrong. Go fuck yourself.
Wow. He was to the point. Now, you may say, man, Ro, you actually played that? Because I need y'all to understand something. What we dealing with right here, y'all, I wrote a whole book on this. Did I not? What have I been saying since 2009? That we're living in this stage of white fear. That there are people in this country, there are white people in this country who are scared to death of the browning of America. And all that psycho bullshit after Obama got elected, we're moving to a post-racial America. I hated that crap when I was on CNN. I was like, no, we're not. Who the hell is saying that? Because wasn't no black people saying it. And so you need to understand all these things that you're seeing, this is what it's all about. So for instance, when we were watching, I saw another video, all this stuff with ICE, how they're attacking black people and brown people, slamming folks on the ground or whatever, their mistreatment. You know, some folks are tired of this. And this Caribbean sister from New York City, all I'm saying is she brought the level of energy that all of us actually feels when it comes to these folks. So let me give a shout out to the person who shot this. But I'm telling y'all, this was on point.
You can go to jail for that.
For what?
What's
going on here? I didn't touch you. What's going on? What are you guys doing?
Somebody please make sure.
Yes, he do. She just told he got to come back to court. What's wrong with you guys?
Let me just get a paperwork. We're just trying to confirm.
So back up, at least give him space. You could do what you do, but just give him space.
We're trying to talk to him, but you guys
I can't.
No, I don't know what you want. Okay, that one works.
What are you guys doing? What's wrong with you guys?
I didn't do anything, man. All right, sir, so don't be detained by immigration.
Why? Tell him why.
You gotta go check that first. Check if everything comes out good, and we'll call you back. First, you like this, I come back. Check it out.
Bitch, you stupid bitch. That's why you're a bunch of fucking criminals. I wish you would. I wish the fuck you would. Yes, the fuck we his family. You're a bunch of big pussies. Don't tell me to calm the fuck down. Who the fuck is you? We don't like none of you.
You okay?
No, how can I be okay? You okay? Are you okay?
Are you okay?
I look like I'm okay? Don't come up in my face here because I hit hard. Fuck wrong with y'all.
Try it.
I wish you would.
Try it.
You try me and see what the fuck happened. Nigga, we angry. All of us angry out here. So don't think it's y'all alone.
Get out of here.
Who you telling get out of here? Why you telling me get out of here? You asked me a question and I'm answering you.
Get out of here. Man.
Fuck wrong with you? Oh, stupid ass bitch. That's why you gotta hide your face.
You wanna go to jail?
You told me my mother could tell you anything.
You wanna go to jail?
Fuck wrong with you? You wanna hit me? Hit me, bitch. You ain't got me. Nobody's scared of you. You're a pussy ass. Come. I got rings on, bitch. So me and you gonna fight. You a pussy bitch. You a pussy bitch. That's why your kids them don't like you. And your wife is fucking on you. That's why you gotta hide your face. My face ain't hidden, bitch. I'm American, you stupid bitch. Fuck wrong with y'all. You can take me too high. I'm sure in the zone your friends. You know what to do? Tell them, no. You want me? Fuck wrong with y'all. Fuck all of you. Put that on the news. Let Trump see it. I'm so fucking red, bitch.
Punk asses, they covering their faces, got the little badges draped on. So Donald Trump has said, y'all can do whatever y'all want. See, remember all the old loudmouth, Simple Simon Negroes who are on YouTube flapping their gums? Isn't it amazing how quiet they are now? Isn't it amazing how, and y'all know their names, y'all know who they are. Isn't it amazing how they ain't got no smoke for ICE? They don't have any smoke for these right-wing Supreme Court justices. They don't have any smoke for these folks, but they love running their mouths about what I'm talking about, what Angela Rye and Native Land Pod talking about other people. And so y'all need to understand what's going on. We told y'all what was going down. Y'all, we even got to the first year of Trump's second term. And what these folks are trying to do, we have been yelling and screaming this stuff not for months, for years. And it's happening. It's happening. We're going to talk to Elie Mystal next. And let me tell y'all something. If y'all want to understand, again, what's going down, if y'all want to understand how these white right-wing ideologues, they don't give a shit about the 1964 Civil Rights Act. They don't care about the 65 Voting Rights Act. They despise the 1968 Civil Rights Act. I told y'all what they said. I told y'all, Robert Mercer is on record saying the fall of America began with the 1964 Civil Rights Act. All this praise, oh, they all mad. Oh, MSNBC didn't show the Medal of Freedom ceremony for Charlie Kirk. Why? Why? They shouldn't have showed it. Or CNN, let the right wing show it. Because Charlie Kirk despised the Civil Rights Act. They couldn't stand the Voting Rights Act. Because that's who they are. And y'all, what's about to happen, I'm going to say it again. Everything that black folks fought for during the period of Reconstruction, during the 92 years of Jim Crow, the Black Freedom Movement, some call the Civil Rights Movement, from the day King was assassinated up until present day, they want to wipe all that out. And I'm telling you, what happened today at the Supreme Court was so shameful and despicable, they don't even give a shit what the law says. They were just up there just making shit up. And when confronted with the facts, just make up some more stuff. Listen, here, I'm going to play for you right now what they talked about. This is just a set. Well, it was supposed to only be an hour. It went a lot longer. But listen to the BS that was said, and a phenomenal job was done by Janae Nelson, who, of course, leads the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. Listen to this, y'all.
Congress included a durational limit in Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act. It created a mechanism for reauthorization. It decidedly did not do that in Section 2.
The issue, as you know, is that this court's cases in a variety of contexts have said that race-based remedies are permissible for a period of time, sometimes for a long period of time, decades in some cases, but that they should not be indefinite and should have an endpoint. And what exactly do you think the endpoint should be, or how would we know for the intentional use of race to create districts?
Well, Justice Kavanaugh, you raised a very important distinction, and that's between remedies and the statute. So a race-based remedy can and should and usually does have a time limit and a durational limit. Section 2 court-ordered remedies have a time limit. And so that is something that is grounded in our case law. What is not grounded in case law is the idea that an entire statute should somehow dissolve simply because race may be an element of the remedy. So, for example, this case has affirmed Title VII. It has affirmed Section 1982, the Family Medical Leave Act, and also Section 4E of the Voting Rights Act in Katzenbach versus Morgan, and never has it suggested that any of those statutes should dissolve in and of themselves as opposed to the remedy.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I don't think it's the statute. It's the particular application of the statute that entails the intentional, deliberate use of race to sort people into different districts. That particular aspect, I'm guessing, I'm asking what you think the time limit on that should be, or there really shouldn't be a time limit. I think you might be saying there shouldn't be a time limit unless Congress chooses one.
I am saying that. I'm saying there should not be a time limit, but I also think it's critical to emphasize that Section 2 does not require a race-based remedy in all circumstances.
Is that because, can I ask, I just wanted to follow up on Justice Kavanaugh's question. What if this is an exercise of Congress's enforcement power? If we're looking at the City of Bernie test and we're saying it has to be congruent and proportional, would that affect your answer to Justice Kavanaugh's question, that if it's going above and beyond what the 15th Amendment requires of its own force, but Congress has actually chosen the Voting Rights Act as a remedy, does that affect the question of whether it can go on indefinitely or not, that at some point it becomes not congruent and proportional?
No, I don't think it does. First, Bernie should not apply to Section 2.
Just assuming that it
my question is. Sure. Assuming that it does, as you know, in Bernie, this court held up the Voting Rights Act as the paradigmatic example of congruence and proportionality. The fact that the Voting Rights Act at times may require a race-based remedy does not change the fact that Congress, with its enlarged powers as defined by Ex parte Virginia and the line of cases forward, can address conduct that is beyond what the 15th Amendment addresses. It doesn't need to simply parrot the 15th Amendment. It can address conduct that is even considered constitutional in order to ensure that race discrimination in voting does not go undetected, uncorrected, or undeterred, in the words of the Senate report supporting the 1982
Nelson, I
amendments.
guess I wonder if it would be helpful, at least as I'm thinking about it, because I think this is a very important question. To understand, I think that you're saying that Section 2 is not a remedy in and of itself. It is the mechanism by which the law determines whether a remedy is necessary.
That's absolutely correct.
So it's a law that is just encouraging or requiring a check-in. It's like a tool. It's like a tape measure that we're looking as to whether or not certain circumstances exist, and those circumstances that Congress is worried about is unequal access to electoral opportunity. And Section 2 tells you we have to look for those circumstances, and then the court says, yep, they exist in this situation under Section 2, and so now a remedy is required. And in our case law, we then say, okay, state, it's up to you to figure out what that remedy will be, and maybe that remedy involves race consciousness, maybe it doesn't, whatever. But Section 2 itself is just the measure by which we determine that a remedy is required.
That's absolutely correct.
And so that's why it doesn't need a time limit, because it's not doing any work other than just pointing us to the direction of where we might need to do something.
That's right. And its usage becomes less and less as we see racially polarized voting and residential segregation decreasing. The Katz amicus brief in this case shows that in the past decade, Section 2 cases have decreased by 50%.
Because the plaintiffs can't make the showing. I mean, it's a pretty significant showing to establish that unequal opportunity of electoral processes is happening in a situation.
That's correct. Jingles is an exacting test. It is data obsessive. It brings in experts and many other forms of evidence to establish a racial violation. There are many cases where the plaintiffs fail in bringing the Jingles 1 precondition or Jingles 2 or Jingles 3 before they even get to the totality of the circumstances.
So if we're talking about a time limit, you would say maybe it's with respect to the remedy that is used to respond to the problem that we've identified under Section 2. But the Section 2 tape measure itself doesn't need a life cycle. It's just,
no.
Yeah.
That's correct. I mean, the 15th Amendment is permanently enshrined in our Constitution, and Section 2 is there to effectuate that prohibition of race discrimination on voting and does not require a time limit.
Thank you.
With the time I have remaining, I'd like to mention that there are many proposals on the table that have been presented by my colleagues on the other side, and a number of them resurrect the intent standard that this court was very clear about, and Congress was extraordinarily clear about, knowing that results is key to ensuring that we do not continue to have rampant racial discrimination in voting. And the absence of it, or the declining ability to show a Section 2 case is because of the success of Section 2 over the past 4 decades. And we would be reckless if we determine that Section 2 somehow is no longer needed simply because it has been so successful in rooting out racial discrimination in voting. There's also, as I mentioned at the outset, a very easy and elegant solution to this case. If SB 8 is not satisfactory, if the court believes, as the Calais panel did, that the state violated the Constitution in constructing SB 8, it should remand.
All right, folks, joining us right now is Elie Mystal. He is the justice correspondent for The Nation. Elie, no need to ask some questions. Take it away. Tell us what the hell happened today.
All right, let me just first break down what y'all just listened to, right? Brett Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett are making what has become my least favorite argument that white folks make, and that is saying something. What they're arguing is that racism has basically been fixed. According to Kavanaugh and Barrett, racism just about over. And so now we really need to figure out when we can end, when the time limit is to end the policies, to end the statutes and the laws designed to stop white people from being racist when it comes to the Voting Rights Act. Like, that was the essential part of Brett Kavanaugh's line of questioning when he's asking about time limits and he's saying like other occasions. And what Nelson was saying, what the NAACP lawyer was saying, is that, Brett, you don't read the law, because there's nothing in the actual law that says, hey, the Voting Rights Act goes away once white people figure out their business, right? The Voting Rights Act goes away, just disappears into the ether when white people feel like we don't need it anymore. That's not what the law says. Congress could write the law to say that, but they didn't. So there's no opportunity, or there shouldn't be an opportunity, for Kavanaugh to just say, well, we have solved this issue, so racism is no longer a thing, right? And so that's really what that interaction was about that you guys just heard. And at the end, with Ketanji Brown Jackson coming in, what she's trying to say is that the Voting Rights Act simply says that white folks can't be racist when it comes to voting rights, right? Like in its bare, simple forms. How white folks want to address their own racism is something up for debate. Now, the common way of doing it, when you have a map like Louisiana's map that is racist towards black folks, the common way of dealing with that is to make a map that is more inclusive. Obviously, when you're making a map that's more inclusive on race, you're gonna look at the races of the people in the districts that you're drawing. Louisiana has 6 congressional districts. The original map, 5 of them were majority white, only 1 of them was majority black. Thing is, Louisiana is only 56% white. It's 30% black, right? Now, I am no mathlete, but I'm pretty sure that you got a state that's 30% black should probably have congressional districts that are 33% or so black, and that's what they're trying to do. That's this fight over the second majority-minority district. What Ketanji Brown Jackson is saying is, yeah, we can draw a second majority-minority district that's one way to solve white people's racism, but there are other ways. And so one of the questions I would have liked Kavanaugh to be forced to answer, or like Barrett to be forced to answer, is that if you don't want to draw a second majority-minority district, how would you like to solve white people's racism, Brett? Because ignoring it, because acting like it doesn't exist, doesn't seem like the right answer. So if they don't want a majority-minority district, pick something else. But of course, the conservatives on the Supreme Court, they like the racism. They want to allow Louisiana to keep doing its racism. And so the argument was not about what other thing we can do. The argument was whether or not we can rule this part of the Voting Rights Act unconstitutional. And that's probably what's going to happen. And so then just to now broaden it out here to what the actual stakes are, you know, even when in the clip that you were playing was from C-SPAN, that's what I was listening to today as well. You see the racist framing of the argument. They're saying Janae Nelson arguing for a second minority district, right? That's one way of putting it. Another way of putting it is that Janae Nelson was arguing against white people being able to overrepresent themselves in Congress, right? Again, second minority district, that's one solution. But the key problem is that Louisiana is 56% white and controls 83% of the congressional seats. That's the problem. So white folks were arguing that they deserved overrepresentation in Congress, and Janae Nelson was arguing against that. Now, she's most likely going to lose this case, I think, even from the clips you saw that Kavanaugh was not on board, Barrett's not on board. You didn't play anything from Alito or Roberts, but they're also not on, this is going to be a 6-3 case. When that happens, one thing will immediately happen. Louisiana, which currently, because the court forced them to have a map with 4 white districts and 2 black districts, that immediately goes back to 5-1. And so that's immediately one seat in the upcoming midterm elections that flips from Democrat to Republican.
This was a story here, Elie, that was in the New York Times that said the Supreme Court case that could hand the House to Republicans. And this is what it said. It said, current map, Democrats hold 24 seats. Plausible redistricting scenario, Republicans gain 12. That means that they take half of those seats. I've seen others that say they could snatch 19, 20. And those are black people. So we're talking about right now, if you add in the 18th Congressional District in Houston, which is vacant because of the death of Congressman Sylvester Turner, there are 62 members of the CBC. We're talking about, I've seen some estimates that say half of the CBC could get wiped out. So we're talking about as many as 30 seats, and the Republicans will draw this. Well, you look at this map right here, go back. So you see right here, Benny Thompson, this is Mississippi right here. They gonna draw this sucker to say, we gonna wipe out his seat. They could wipe out the seat in Louisiana. You look at the 2 seats in Alabama, Terry Sewell and Shamari Figures. They can say, damn that, we gonna wipe those two under the guise of political gerrymandering. You look at that seat, you look at in Georgia, though, we gonna wipe that sucker out as well. Look at Florida. Oh, guess what? Congressman Jim Clyburn, kiss your seat goodbye in South Carolina. Look at those seats in North Carolina. Right now, you've got Congresswoman Alma Adams, you got Congressman Don Davis. They're gonna wipe out, boom, right here, Don Davis's seat. And so they're gonna say, oh no, we're not wiping out black seats. We are redistricting according to our red state, and that means black people, bye-bye. Some of y'all Latinos, bye-bye.
Here's another lie that was really important to the white people's argument at the court today. There was, as you pointed out, the white argument is that we don't care about race. We're just redistricting based on party, that you can redistrict based on party affiliation to essentially make seats more safe for Republicans. And we don't know nothing about no black people. We're just doing it on Democrat-Republican basis, right? And so one of the counter arguments to that, the Solicitor General of Louisiana argued in open court that if Louisiana didn't know the race of the people in the state, they would have drawn the maps in exactly the same way because they were just trying to break up Democratic districts, not break up black districts. But here's the problem with that argument, and it was brought up in court as a counter to the Louisiana guy. White Democrats do not vote for black candidates. They just don't. They don't in Louisiana. They don't across the South. So even if you take a district and you fill it with Democrats of mixed race, if that district is not majority black, it is unlikely that a black candidate will actually be able to win that district, even if it's a majority Democratic district, right? So it's unless it's a majority minority district, it is much more difficult for a black person to win that district because white Democrats, as Martin Luther King might have pointed out, are not willing to vote for black candidates, even when those black candidates are Democrats and it's a Democratic district. So you kind of can't do what Louisiana wants to do unless you are, quite frankly, just looking at the race of the people in your state. And that was the other kind of big ticket lie that was just driven through the Supreme Court arguments today. This idea that Louisiana is acting in some kind of colorblind way doesn't pass its first test with reality. So what the Supreme Court was essentially saying is that white folks can look at race when they are trying to be racist to black people. But black folks are not allowed to look at race when they are trying to counteract the racism of the white districts. And again, as you are pointing out with your maps, this has huge political implications for even the upcoming midterms. You brought out the thing with 12. I've also seen the analysts that say 19. Of the 62 members in the CBC, I think only 17 are protected in majority minority districts. So you say that you can't have essentially majority minority districts anymore, which is one possible outcome of this case. And you could see redistricting, as you say, Clyburn, you name Benny Thompson, you could see redistricting across the South that makes it significantly difficult for a black person to get elected in the South, which is exactly what they want.
And here's what was crazy. This was one of the stories about these plaintiffs who filed the lawsuit. It said none of the plaintiffs testified at a 3-day trial in federal court, according to transcripts. The legal briefs list their names, but say nothing about their lives. Come on, guys, go on iPad. Nothing about their lives or the reasons each chose to participate in the case, aside from assertions that each, quote, suffered unlawful intentional discrimination based on race. We call bullshit, Elie. Bottom line is, all these conservatives did was went and found them some white people to put their name on a lawsuit because the whole goal was we want to get rid of these black congressional seats and put in more white Republicans.
Remember, the white plaintiffs' actual argument was that creating majority-minority districts violated their constitutional rights to equal protection. That not over-representing white folks in Congress hurt their equal protection rights. I'm sure many of your listeners have seen the line, when you are used to oppression, when you are used to privilege, equality must seem like oppression to you. And that describes the white plaintiffs in this case to a T. The only silver lining, the only good part, I guess, of today's 2.5-hour arguments was that, those white plaintiffs, they had their own lawyer, right? Louisiana, who wants to have the racist maps, they were represented by the Solicitor General. The Trump administration, the Deputy Solicitor General of the United States, Mupan, he was arguing for the Trump administration. The white guys got their own lawyer. Some Harvard grad from Kansas City. And boy, I believe the scientific term, Roland, is that he got dog walked by the liberal justices. And it was 15 minutes, and it was kind of awesome because usually especially when the liberal women are like really going in on a man, usually one of the white guys on the Supreme Court, they kind of throw their brother a rope, right? Throw him a lifeline. Man, even the white justices on that one just shut up, just didn't say nothing, just let that guy get got by the liberal women for 15 entire minutes. It was the best part of the hearing. But the fact that these plaintiffs, their core argument lost. I mean, that's not going to happen. They're not going to say the Voting Rights Act violates the equal protection of white folks. I do not think that's going to be the holding. So even though their actual argument that got this case to the Supreme Court is going to get trashed, it's not going to matter because the argument that the Voting Rights Act cannot be used to operate in this way to protect the voting rights of black people, that's the argument that's going to win the day. Brett Kavanaugh kind of articulated what the final holding is going to be. He's not going to directly overturn Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. He's going to say it still exists, but he's going to neuter it to the point where it can't do anything and cause this ripple effect of 1 to 12 to 19 seats to be flipped from Democrat to Republican, from black to white for the upcoming midterm elections, or certainly by 2028.
See, here's another mistake that the Dems, I don't understand. I saw this in Texas. Okay, they had a rally outside the Supreme Court today. And, okay, the LDF had these signs made up. And this is the problem, Elie. Go to my iPad. They had these signs said, fight for fair maps. No, drop the lower third. Fight for fair maps. Elie, that's the wrong fucking argument. It's the wrong fucking argument. The issue is not fair maps. If you use fair maps argument, you can do, the Supreme Court has said political gerrymandering is allowed. This is about ending racist maps. You have to keep the language right.
It's about ending racist maps. And again, it's about stopping white folks from over-representing themselves. One of the things, and you and I have talked about this before, but one of the real mental issues that I've found with many white folks in this nation is that they think they own the place. they think there are more of them than there are.
Yeah.
Because they don't see us, because we are invisible to them, because we all look the same to them. They walk around like this country is like 90% white. And when they see on TV, when they see Congress, which is, I think, like 80% white, when they see the Senate, which is, 90% white, they think that that is representative, and they see the Supreme Court that's, 92% white, they think that that is representative of how many white people are in this country. And it's just not. They are in a bare, slim majority, a majority that they are losing every day. That's one of the reasons why we have Trump in the first place, because they're scared about losing that majority. But again, in a state like Louisiana, it's only 56% white. It's only 56% white. This country is only 60% white. So they should only have about 60% of the representation. And when you tell even other white folks what you're arguing for is overrepresentation, you're arguing for more than you deserve. Some of them, that hits differently. Some of them, they get that a little bit differently. It happened at the court this morning when the Louisiana lawyer was like, these black people, they came in and they were asking for an extra district. And Ketanji Brown Jackson was like, no, they were not. Black folks are not asking for anything extra. We're not asking for anything more. We're asking to stop white oppression and simply have what we deserve by our population numbers. We're asking to be treated like 5/5 of a person instead of 3/5 of a person. Not more, not 7/5 like the white folks want. We just want what we already should have been given, which is the right to one person, one vote. It's white folks that want more than that. But our messaging, as you're pointing out, Roland, it's never that. It's never focused on the white need to overrepresent themselves. It's always focused on these more gentler phrases like fairness or justice or equity. And like, no, that's not even what people are asking for. I'm not asking for equal representation with white folks. I just want the same.
Yep.
Right? Equal, right? I just want the same as what white folks have gotten in this country since 1776.
Well, here's the reality.
And I refuse to believe that that's too much to ask.
I've said this numerous times before, Elie, and I'm going to say it again. And this is what speaks volumes to me. And I've played this clip numerous times. This was a Robert De Niro directed movie. It's called The Good Shepherd. This scene right here, this sums up 100% what you just said about what these white folks want. Listen.
What do you want to talk to me about?
The government's about to deport you for certain activities.
I'm in this country since I'm 2 months old. Does that make me Italian? I'm American. And they're trying to send me back?
I could have the deportation order reviewed. Have you classified as highly sensitive for national security? I could take the government off your back if you can help us.
Usually the guys that scare me. You're the people that make big wars.
No, we make sure the wars are small ones, Mr. Palm.
Let me ask you something. We Italians, we got our families and we got the church. The Irish, they have the homeland. The Jews, their tradition. Even the niggers, they got their music. What about you people, Mr. Carlson? What do you have?
The United States of America. The rest of you are just visiting.
That's their mentality. The rest of you are just visiting. And just to reinforce it, this is Republican Senator Eric Schmidt speaking at a conservative Peter Thiel-sponsored conference in September. And that was fiction. This is real life.
The Continental Army soldiers dying of frostbite at Valley Forge. The Pilgrims struggling to survive in the hard winter soil of Plymouth, the pioneers striking out from Missouri for the wild and dangerous frontier, the outnumbered Kentucky settlers repelling wave after wave of Indian war band attacks from beyond the stockade walls. All of them will be astonished to hear that they were only fighting for a proposition. They believed they were fighting for a nation, a homeland for themselves and their descendants. They fought, they bled, they struggled, they died for us. They built this country for us. America, in all its glory, is their gift to us, handed down across the generations. It belongs to us. It's our birthright. It's our heritage, our destiny. If America is everything and everyone, then it is nothing and no one at all. When they tear down our statues and monuments, mock our history, and insult our traditions, they're attacking our future as well as our past. By changing the stories we tell about ourselves, they believe they can build a new America with the new myths, a new people. But America doesn't belong to them. It belongs to us. It's our home. It's a heritage entrusted to us by our ancestors. It's a way of life that is ours and only ours. If we disappear, then America too will cease to exist.
Elie, he said, this is ours. Y'all, it ain't for y'all.
Carjacker putting a vanity plate on the vehicle of yours that they stole, right? Like they steal your car and then they put a plate on it that says mine, right? Like what the... I mean, obviously, I don't have to tell your listeners, white people didn't build shit. They stole shit, and black people built the wealth that this country is built on. I can trace my heritage back all the way to a man who fled the plantation behind Sherman's army as he was walking through Mississippi. Now, obviously, since he was there, my ancestor went back farther than that, but the white folks didn't keep great records of for exactly when he came here, but I can trace it at least to that point. And I bet you that my people have been here longer than Eric Schmidt.
And there we go. Elie Mystal, I wish we had better news for our folks, but the other thing is we told people this was going to happen. We told them this was going to happen. And this is where we are. And these Republicans and Supreme Court took forever deciding previous cases. Oh, they are not going to take much time at all deciding this one because they want to give Republicans as much time as possible to redraw these maps for 2026.
100%. Thank you so much for having me.
Elie, thanks a lot. Appreciate it, folks. We come back. We're going to... A woman running for the 18th congressional seat in Houston. Guess what? That's one of those seats Republicans have already wiped out. We'll talk with candidate Amanda Edwards next, right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Stud Network. Y'all support the work that we do. Ain't nobody else having the conversation we're having. Your support is critical for us to continue to do so. If you want to support us via, to join our Bring the Funk fan club, support us via Cash App. Use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. Bottom left-hand corner, Cash App, credit cards. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo's RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the check some money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. Back in a moment.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
Hey, what's up? It's Sammy Roman.
Hey, it's John Murray, the executive producer of the new Sherry Shepherd Talk Show.
It's me, Sherry Shepherd, and you know what you're watching, Roland Martin, Unfiltered.
Folks, there are a number of candidates running for the 18th congressional seat in Houston. That is to replace the late Congressman Sylvester Turner, who replaced the late Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. One of those folks, former Houston City Councilwoman Amanda Edwards, she ran for the seat against Sheila Jackson Lee when she lost in the last election. She's trying to win the seat now. She joins us right now. Amanda, glad to have you back on the show. When we look at this seat, we look at what Republicans are already doing. If you win, you're only going to be there for a year because of what they're doing with these racist gerrymandering. But what is it that you can accomplish in that year as the member of Congress for the 18th Congressional District?
Well, first, thank you for having me on. And let me just highlight a little bit of backdrop on this district. When you count the time from when Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee got sick and passed away, Congressman Turner passing away, and the fact that our governor chose to play politics with people's lives by refraining and declining to call the special election in a timely fashion, and then the fact that there will likely be a runoff, we are facing a period of probably 18 months where this district, these 789,000 people, have had no voice, no vote, no one to advocate for federal funding on their behalf because there is no voting member. So in that time, things like the Big Beautiful Bill got to pass. On the first round, of course, it passed by a margin of 1 vote. You now see the redistricting taking place when we had no voting member. And this community is reeling. It's reeling from the fact that they've had taxation with no representation and the fact that they haven't had the resources coming in that ought to, and that the policies that have been pushed have been counter to their interests. For example, with the Big Beautiful Bill, it cut $900 billion from Medicaid and $300 billion from SNAP. The 18th Congressional District has a disproportionately higher number of people who consume those benefits. And so they are now stripping away those social safety nets. So one of the things I think is going to be a priority is to bring back funding for the district that hasn't had its voting member. One of the places and spaces where I think there can be some common ground starts with things like the fact that we're in hurricane season, and we need those infrastructure dollars, and we need to keep residents safe. I always say we cannot stop the rain from falling, but we can be prepared to catch it when it does, and that means making the requisite investments in infrastructure before there is some type of catastrophe like a Harvey event.
Well, so when we talk about, I mean, obviously, Republicans control the House, and so what will be your priorities? What will be your top 2 to 3 issues that you want to deliver on for the district?
Yeah, so I mentioned one, which is that's the space and place. I think if there were ever a place where there to be some common ground, I haven't met a Republican or a Democrat that likes to flood. If there could be some common ground, I think infrastructure and disaster recovery is that space. We've heard our president who has talked about gutting FEMA. He's talked about wanting to do away with federal funding of disaster recovery. And, you know, when you have states like California, Texas, Louisiana, New York, and Florida, for example, that are now on the brink of insurance crises because of the fact that we have these catastrophes, and that you undermine the ability for there to be federal support to come in. I think that would be another space and place where there could be potential address on a bipartisan level. In addition, it's the subject of the, of course, government shutdown, but it needs to be addressed, and that is healthcare. We are moving in the wrong direction, and this is the basis for the shutdown. Is we need more affordable access to healthcare, period. And so that is what I know right now is part of the shutdown, but it will be one of my priorities. I think a lot of what has happened since the Affordable Care Act initially got passed in the Obama administration, it did not progress in the ways that people expected or it should have, because all of the litigation that immediately ensued once that legislation was passed. But we've got to continue to build upon it, because this can have the impact of really compromising people's lives. When I was growing up, my father was diagnosed with something called multiple myeloma, which is a very aggressive form of cancer. It took his life when I was a teenager, but I remember asking my father, what would happen if the insurance company, what if they said no to the life-saving treatments that he needed? And I'll never forget his responses. He would always just look at me and say, well, we would just have to figure something else out. And I think we've got to get to a space and place where we think about the lives that are hanging in the balance of the decisions we make, the systems we create, and the people that are impacted by our government. And right now, we're not doing a very good job of that. And there are people whose lives are lying in a balance and who are not going to be able to access health care and the very basics in society, given these cuts with the big, beautiful bill and beyond.
Healthcare obviously is one issue. Economics is another. So what can you do to drive economic development to this district in the year that you will serve in that position? Because if you win, you would get sworn in January, and the next Congress wouldn't end until the following January.
Yes, one of the things that I think was a noteworthy example in terms of economic opportunity stems from small businesses. Back in Houston, we love to talk about how Houston is the most diverse city in the nation. And as a result of that, I asked the question one day, what good is it to be the most diverse if we're not solving the challenges that our diverse communities face? And in particular, when we look at our small businesses, the statistics are staggering. At that time, it was a few years back, white-owned businesses were at $225 billion in sales and receipts, and black-owned businesses were only at $3.3 billion. And it's not because we don't have storefronts. It's not because we don't have entrepreneurs. It's because we don't have intentionality and policy that really promotes equity in our community. One of the things that happened during the pandemic, when you saw those PPP loans get distributed, initial round, it went out to a lot of the traditional banking institutions with whom a lot of our mom and pop shops of color did not have strong relationships and were not prioritized. And you saw black and brown businesses shutting down left and right. And so what they did on the second round is something I think can be done now, which is to start shifting dollars into the hands of CDFIs, community development financial institutions, that lend at much greater rates than some of the traditional banking institutions. I think we can start making an effort to do that to help support push for equity. I know this is a dangerous word in the Trump era, but it should not be. And ultimately, we've got to create a community where people have the opportunity to thrive and create jobs for their community and support their families.
Last question, as it relates to, again, in this particular position. And I tell people all the time, the member of Congress, yes, you're operating on a national level, but you're also working on a constituent level, dealing with your constituents, servicing those people as well. So when you look at on the national level, what can you do? Is there anything that you have your sights set on that you want to be able to accomplish in the year that you would have this position?
Absolutely. I mentioned to you that there is an insurance crisis brewing in concert with the disasters that take place. People can't get policies. You saw what was happening in California when people's houses were burning to the ground and they are getting dropped from their insurance. In Texas, the same thing is happening. People can't get insurance coverage. And so we're seeing that happen across some of the major economic engines in our country. I think there is a room and opportunity for real legislation to create a federal solution to that, because of the fact that we otherwise, as we've done with national flood insurance. And I think that's going to be something that can assist people across a much broader spectrum and potentially get some traction within the first year.
All right, then. Amanda Edwards, good luck. And the election is set for the first Tuesday in November.
Thank you. And just wanted to tell people, make sure they go vote early. October the 20th through Halloween is the early voting time frame. And of course, November 4th is Election Day. I know a lot of people are confused by the redistricting that has taken place. The redistricting, those new maps do not apply to this special election. If they withstand the court challenge, they're currently being challenged in court if they withstand that challenge, they would be applicable to the midterm elections in 2026, not to the special in 2025.
All righty. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
All right, folks, going to a break. We come back. We'll be chatting with Ken Martin, the chair of the Democratic National Committee, right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Support the work that we do. You can, of course, support us by joining our Bring the Funk fan club. When you contribute to our grouping, this is what you do right here on Stripe, y'all. Use the QR code for Cash App, credit cards. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo's RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Checks and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. Back in a moment.
Afrotech, it's a lot of beauty, a lot of brilliance, a lot of intellect, a lot of innovation.
Companies that are most diverse are more profitable.
We're getting culture, we're getting community, we're getting the best of the best.
And not only are we here to greet each other, but we're here to network and to elevate each other.
Everybody from all the major tech companies here, and that means that now everybody's in the same domain.
This is the premier event every year. This is really where we could take off. You can go fast by yourself, but we go farther together.
This is where you're supposed to be.
Said the quiet part out loud. Black votes are a threat, so they erased them. After the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013, Republican legislatures moved fast. New voter ID laws, polling place shutdowns, purges of black voters from the rolls. Trump's Justice Department didn't stop it, they joined in. In 2018, his DOJ backed Ohio's voter purge system, a scheme that disproportionately erased black voters. Their goal, erase black votes and political power. Yeah, that happened. These are the kinds of stories that we cover every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Subscribe on YouTube and download the Black Star Network app. Support fact-based independent journalism that centers African Americans and the issues that matter to our community.
The original No Kings protest was 250 years ago. Americans decided they didn't want to live under the rule of King George III. They declared their independence and fought a bloody war for democracy. We've had 2.5 centuries of democracy since then, often challenging, sometimes messy, always essential. And we've fought in 2 world wars to preserve it. Now we have a would-be king who wants to take it away, King Donald I. Fuck that. We're rising up again this time, non-violently, raising our voices to declare no kings. I'm Robert De Niro, asking you to stand up and be counted in the nationwide No Kings protest on October 18th. Visit nokings.org to find, volunteer, or host a protest near you. We're all in this together, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. Why the America we live in today is not what the founders intended or what they outlined in the Declaration of Independence and even the Constitution. Professor and author Kermit Roosevelt will join us to talk about his book, The Nation That Never Was. How history was misinterpreted, the intent and realities of America's beginnings, and missed a much better story in the process.
So if you have to pick some group to marginalize, I think it should be the people who are against equality.
That's next on the Black Table, right here on the Black Star Network.
Michael McMillan, President and CEO of the Urban League of Metropolitan St. Louis, and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, with the attack on black voting rights, black grassroots organizations are doing all they can to protect our voting power. Mike Gillum, the former vice mayor of Tamarack, Florida, is founder of Black Vote Action. He joins us right now. Mike, you see what's happening there. We see what's happening in Florida. We see the attacks where Ron DeSantis is wiped out a congressional seat. We see you got a gubernatorial election going on in Florida coming up soon. And the bottom line is this used to be a battleground state. And we've seen black participation drop off the map in addition to Democratic participation. And so what are y'all doing there in Florida to frankly rebuild? I keep talking about that the black political infrastructure that has held many of these communities together has been, been just slowly eroding away. So how are you trying to put it together there in Florida?
Well, thanks for having me on, Roland. There are some model organizations that we need to follow. So you're familiar with Color of Change, the Collective PAC, Fair Fight Action. So the Black Vote Action is trying to follow those successful models and target black voters by engaging them, registering them to vote, finding voters where they are, black voters where they are, in the barbershops, on the basketball courts, on the football fields, and having those real conversations and letting them know why it's important to vote. You talked about the numbers shift in Florida. When Andrew Gillum nearly won the election, that put fear in the hearts and the minds of Republicans, and they got to work. At one point, we had over 300,000 more Democrats than Republicans. Now, they lead by 1.4 million voters in the state of Florida. So we need to register voters, and too many disaffected Democrats have gone to the NPA, which takes them out of the primary process. So we need to re-engage voters, black voters, let them know why it's important to register as a Democrat, even though we've had some dissatisfaction with them, and then have an organized and collective effort to make sure that the right candidates get into office that are going to promote policies that impact black individuals and others, including the Second Chance Act.
All right, so I think the point there, I think that actually has to be flipped. Here's what I mean. And when I travel around the country, when I'm talking to people, and I love these idiots who say, oh my God, you're a shilling. No, what I'm dealing first with people are policies. I'm saying policies first. Now then, okay, if you say you want these policies, you now then have to then say, okay, now let me look at these candidates. Who is likely to advocate for my policies? It might be that Democrat. So for me, I'm not even saying I need you to register to vote for a Democrat. I'm saying I need you to identify the policies that you care about, then look at who is going to advocate for those policies, and then you make the proper voting decision based upon that. Because for a lot of black voters, especially younger black voters, if the conversation is Democrat first, it's going to be an automatic turnoff.
Correct. So our goal is to present those policies. For example, conducting a disparity study, identifying the disparities that we know exist. In the city I serve, less than half of 1% of the money we spent went to black-owned businesses. And that usually happens across the board. Maynard Jackson did a disparity study back in 51 years ago in 1974, and that should have been modeled after in every city where there were black majorities over a 10-year period. That hasn't happened. Now, we can't even have disparity studies or minority preference programs. The Second Chance Act, helping returning citizens get a chance to vote. We know affordable housing is a big issue. When we have people in power, they can say to developers, hey, you can build here, but at least 25% or whatever number needs to be affordable housing. So we need to lead with policies, get our people on board with those policies, and then engage with elected officials once they're in office to ensure that they advance those policies, and then we communicate that while they're in office. Voters get frustrated because we come and ask for their vote, and then we disappear for 4 years. And then we come back 4 years later and say what we did, but they don't feel what we did, and we didn't communicate with them throughout the process. So our goal is to engage current elected officials with the community, make sure you know who's doing the right job, who's doing a good job, and then work to eliminate those who are not on our team.
So I'm curious, how are you also, again, I say voting is the end of one process and the beginning of another. And yes. Black voters matters always talked about it 365, 7 days a week. I believe one of the greatest mistakes of organizers is that we ramp up, we do all this investment, we ramp up for the election, and as soon as it's over, as soon as the election is over, it dissipates. And we're not maintaining the organizational infrastructure to then organize and mobilize those same people to say, hey, now I need you showing up to the city council meeting, the county commissioners meeting, the state house. That to me is also one of the great mistakes.
Absolutely. And part of the reason why is because we need funding. But one of the things that we did, to your point, and you reported on this, the fact that some Democrats voted in agreement to censure Al Green. So a local congressman in Florida was one of those representatives. What we did is we sent a mass text message out to all the black voters in his district, letting them know that he voted to censure Al Green. Why did you do that? You rely on us as black voters. Why did you do that? And so he heard from those voters. They wrote to him, they called him, they texted him. So he felt us. And so that's what we need to do. We need to engage with the voters after they vote. You're right. Voting is the start of a new process. And we have to engage those voters throughout that time. How do we do that? We continue to knock on doors. We send text messages, social media. But as you know, those things cost. And so we need to raise money to keep voters engaged outside and after the election cycle.
When you talked about funding, so okay, as it relates to what's happening there, what is your focus with Black Vote Action in terms of, if I look at the state, you can't do everything. How are you targeting the state? How are you, what are your top 2, 3 priorities in terms of places you're looking to increase turnout 3, 5, 7, 10%?
So Broward is the Black Democratic stronghold. Every constitutional officer in the county except one is Black. So what we want to do is increase the voter turnout here in Broward, and then model that in Palm Beach and Miami-Dade County, because South Florida, the Tri-County area, is a stronghold for Black voters. And then the following cities, Jacksonville, Orlando, and Tampa, are the next cities we want to target. And we want to work with other partners like Equal Ground to help spread the message and to increase voter engagement and voter turnout in those cities. But again, as you know, when you send a mass text message or a mass email, that costs money. And so we want to be involved in the community, make sure they know that we're there, and continue to engage with them on a regular basis.
How, in terms of when you look at the state, I got it, Broward's number 1. Yeah. What are the other 2 to 3, 4 we should be paying attention to, counties in Florida where Black folks can make a huge difference?
So Jacksonville, huge city and county. And as you mentioned, Ron DeSantis got rid of a congressional district there with the approval of the Florida Supreme Court. So that's another large major city where we need to mobilize, activate, bring voter registration to the highest level possible, and get Black voters to turn out, and make sure that we have elected officials that understand how to communicate and how to speak the language so that you can engage and increase Black voter turnout. Outside of Jacksonville, you have Orlando, you have Tampa, you have those major cities where most of us are. And the unique thing about Florida, when you're talking about Black voters, you're talking about Jamaican Americans, Haitian Americans, Bahamian Americans, and African Americans. And so there are several languages or several people you have to talk to in a certain way to get that vote out. What's disappointing about the Democratic Party is they recognize that in the Hispanic community and have a language for the Venezuelans. They know the issues of the Cubans, but no one's really focusing on the different issues of impacting the diversity of the Black American community in Florida.
Have you had any conversations with Nikki Fried, who is the state chair of the Democratic Party?
Yes, we have. And, when you look at the success of the major candidates who've done very well, starting with Barack Obama, Andrew Gillum, Stacey Abrams, you recognize that you have to build your own infrastructure before the party finally joins in. So we've had those conversations. We continue to have those conversations. And we hope that they view us as a viable vehicle in future elections, and they will need to. And we try to get involved and engage with the with the Harris campaign for president, but they wrote Florida off, so it wasn't a priority. But yes, we've been engaging with the party elected officials in Broward, Palm Beach, Miami-Dade County, and the state representative Nikki Fried.
I've got DNC Chair Ken Martin coming up next. What would you ask him? What would you say to him?
Provide the necessary funding we need to Black Vote Action, and let us take the lead in mobilizing, engaging, and increasing voter turnout of Black voters in Broward County and in South Florida. and then further up throughout the state of Florida.
What's the number? The reality is, if you're talking about people and what type of investment, you got a gubernatorial election coming up next year, you got congressional races. What is the number needed to invest in black voter turnout in Florida? What's your number?
You're looking at millions of dollars because you're really
No. I don't want a broad number. I want a specific number. Is it 5 million? Is it 7 million? Is it 8? Is it 10? What is it?
Yeah. So you're looking at about $12.50 per vote. So you're looking at about $5 million at a minimum.
A minimum $5 million investment, and you're promising what is it? Is it a 3 to 5% increase in black voter turnout? I'm just interested in your data in terms of if you say make this investment, this is what we're going to then be able to do.
Yeah. So we're going to be able to engage unregistered voters and get them registered. And we're going to be able to take the current voter turnout, which is about 60%, 65% in the black vote, and take that up to 70, maybe above 70%.
Well, I've made the point that where you have black folks, the minimum turnout has to be 70%. If we want to maximize our voting power, it cannot be. You talked about Andrew Gillum. The reality is the Democratic turnout. I remember Tallahassee Democrat had a chart. You didn't get to like number 11 or 12. The top 10, 11 turnout counties were all red.
Yes.
And so that was the case.
And if you look at the video back then, especially in the primary race, Gillum was down, and Gillum kept asking, did Broward hit yet? Did Broward hit yet? Did Broward hit yet? It didn't hit. Once Broward hit, that took him over the top, and he came out the primary with the victory.
All right. Mike, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. See you soon.
Quick break. We come back. Ken Martin, chair of the Democratic National Committee, joins us right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Back in a moment.
This week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're continuing our series of putting in the work, A Chef's Journey. Are you an aspiring chef? Someone who already has a business, trying to figure out what your next steps will be, who to talk to, and how to get there? Well, on this week's show, our great guests and wonderful chefs will talk to you about what it means to discover your purpose, your why of being in the kitchen, and then knowing how to put a business together.
The menu controls everything. The menu determines everything. But the business plan is where you have to go back to.
When you get into the business, at the end of the day, social media and TV, all of that stuff is cool, but you still have to run a business. You still have to be in relationship with people.
That's all next on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here on Black Star Network.
Melanie Campbell, National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and Black Women's Roundtable. And we are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered all day, every day, 24/7. Spread the word.
Folks, the Democratic response to this shutdown has, as I said before, given them their sea legs. When you look at how they've been responding. In fact, today I sent Congressman Hakeem Jeffries a text message because they had a news conference today. We actually live streamed it here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. We were on the caps. They were on the outside steps. They actually had someone talk who was an impacted person talking about the cutbacks on health care. And I have been saying this for the longest. I've been yelling this since Trump was inaugurated. Bishop William Barber always talks about this. You need to have impacted people as the face of public policy as opposed to political folks. So the question is, how is the DNC driving this issue of the shutdown in 50 states across the country and not just in D.C.? Ken Martin is chair of the Democratic National Committee. He joins us right now. Ken, glad to have you here. Here's a perfect example. And this is what I said months ago when Leader Jeffries and some other Democrats were holding an event in New Orleans. And I said, I don't understand why they have 5 Democrats in New Orleans. I get it. I said, but I would have actually sent a member to each district office of Mike Johnson, and I would have had simultaneous news conferences outside of those district offices. That way I can get local media, I will get state media, I'll be impacting national media. So what is your strategy in these states, in these counties, in these places where people are impacted to tell the story of the shutdown, how it's going to negatively impact regular, ordinary folk?
Well, first off, Roland, thank you for having me tonight. As always, it's great to be here. And you're absolutely right. Unfortunately, millions of Americans are being impacted by this shutdown right now. They're being impacted by the disastrous big ugly bill that passed this summer. And of course, the policies that Donald Trump and this administration have been pushing from day one. And where you're spot on is we need to tell the real stories, right? It's one thing for politicians to get up there and talk about fighting for this. But what you're saying is exactly right. We need to show people the real impacts of this. And there's no one better to show the real impacts than people whose lives are being impacted on a daily basis by what's happening right now with this shutdown. So we're doing that. We're actually telling the story using people who have, real stories. We just rolled out a video, an ad the other day from a farmer who has been, his life has been completely turned upside down because of the tariffs that Donald Trump has been, inflicted upon soybean farmers and other farmers throughout this country. We're talking about, with this big ugly bill, people who are losing their health insurance and seniors who are actually losing their, access to nursing homes. We're talking right now in this shutdown about people who are already we're using people who are, already seeing and getting their healthcare premium notices and seeing double, triple, digit increases in their monthly premiums. And so there's no one better to tell that story than people who are being impacted. And I've said this before on this show, but one of my favorite quotes is from Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, who said, "Those closest to pain should be closest to power." And that means that not just making sure that we have people who are being impacted sharing their stories, but we need more people who actually have real lived experiences and real struggles who actually serve in office. That's part of the challenge, right? So many people who serve in elected office right now have never really had to struggle. The reality is for us to break through at this moment, it's not just about standing up and fighting, but it's actually leading from behind. You don't always need to be the person at the microphone. Give someone else the microphone so they can tell their story.
You talked about that farmer ad. Where is that at?
It's all over the place. I mean, you can look at it on our YouTube channel. We have it around on all of our social media. Is this
it right here? I'm just trying to understand. Is this it? I see a 5.5 minute one. I see a 30-second one. Is this it? Can you see it? Is that it?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe that's it.
Okay, got it. All right. So I was looking on your Twitter feed, looking for that. But here's one of the things that I said, and trust me, I get why some politicians might disagree. This is the issue that I have. You got a lot of these farmers who don't vote Democrat, and they want Democrats now to save their asses, but they don't reward Democrats when they get their asses saved. Look at the Teamsters. Biden Harris saved their asses when it came to the pension funds, and Sean O'Brien turns right around and screwed Democrats. And so I've heard, I had John Boyd on here, and my whole deal is, okay, so these farmers want Democrats to save their butts, but are you going to stand with the folks who do, or are you going to keep voting for Republican? How do you break through to that? How do you, and how targeted are you saying, hey, remember, who the one saved your pension? Who saved your farms? They didn't.
That's right. Well, I think that the reality is, and we've talked about this before, Roland, right? I believe that what Donald Trump is doing right now is he's creating opportunities for the Democratic Party to actually expand our coalition, to have conversations with voters who've left us many years ago, right, and have been voting for Republicans for years now. And make no mistake about it, you can look at a map and see that most of our rural communities are bright shades of red, right? And it wasn't that long ago that we had a lot of vote share and Democratic vote share in rural parts of this country. The reality is, though, is he's creating opportunities for us to have the conversation, and we need to have the conversation. It's not just about delivering and helping them. It's actually about developing relationships with voters. And the flip side is true as well, and we've talked about this, which is, the Democratic Party has made huge mistakes in how we approach communities of color. We usually show up 3 months before an election, and it's all about, mobilization and turnout instead of persuasion and building a conversation around shared values. And actually, we just make assumptions that people who have been with us will always be with us, and people who are opposed to us are never going to be for us. I believe when you organize everywhere, you can win anywhere. But we can't do it just by resisting Donald Trump, by the way. We got to get up. We got to show folks, whether you're in an urban area, you're a suburban area, a rural area, how their lives are going to be better with Democrats in control. Secondly, to your point, is this, I don't think we do a good job of talking about what we do to actually help people. And while we end up bailing various industries out or helping various communities, we don't actually go back into those communities and remind folks what we've done to actually make a difference in their lives. That's why what I've been advocating for so long and what I've done these last 9 months is start to change the script, flip the script. We need to be out there organizing year-round, having conversations with voters that start around their hopes and dreams and eventually around shared values, never talking about elections or candidates, never talking about party, but really starting to build relationships with voters throughout this country again. And that starts right now by having organizers on the ground. The Democratic National Committee, of all the committees here in Washington, D.C., we're the only ones that actually are organizing right now, that are doing direct voter contact, that are engaged in conversations with voters, and frankly, taking advantage of the opportunities that Donald Trump's helping to create with farmers and rural voters, with Latino voters right now, with communities of color that are being targeted by this administration, with people who are being kicked off of their health insurance, people that are being deprived of food assistance, right? These are all opportunities for the Democratic Party if we take advantage of it and start actually having the right conversation.
So you talk about those things. Where are those things happening now? And are you live streaming those events? How are you driving the messaging? Have you seen the results of that in terms of show up in fundraising, in engagement, and how are you measuring the impact of what all things you just described?
Yeah, look, I mean, let me tell you what's been happening around the country. There's been 45 elections on the ballot since Donald Trump was inaugurated. In all 45 of them, Democrats have overperformed at a historic rate to the tune of about 16 percentage points, which is a historic overperformance. And that's as a result of our organizing in those communities, of having the conversations, of making the investments in down ballot races and making sure that we're organizing everywhere. And so, as a result, we've won many of those elections. And of course, there's wind at our back, right? Right now, we just launched a tour through HBCUs here, starting those conversations again on historically Black college campuses earlier than ever before, because we need to build relationships with voters and not just assume that they're going to be with us. And that means starting now. We've already started that, right? We're out there right now talking to voters. We're organizing well before elections to make sure that people know that we are the ones standing up for them. We are the ones fighting for them and their families. And it's already paying huge dividends, as I mentioned, Roland. Now, look, we got a lot more work to do, don't get me wrong, but there's certainly wind at our back. And if this trend continues, a 16% overperformance combined with Donald Trump's low approval and job ratings, and they continue to slide as he continues to decimate the economy and break every promise he made to the American people, we have real opportunities here to win big, both in 25 and in 26. But we can't keep doing things the same way that this Democratic Party has done things in the past, which is why we're already out there having conversations and actually building relationships with voters throughout this country.
Last question for you, and that is this here. When we talk about the next step, we're facing a Supreme Court right now that could wipe out a significant number of Black congressional seats in the South. Bishop Barber has said this over and over and over again. The problem at the South is not its guaranteed Republican lock, it's simply unorganized. Walk me through, and walk me through this investment that you're making in Mississippi. What other southern states? I just had the organizer on from Florida. You may have heard some of what he had to say as well. I've talked to Latasha Brown and Cliff Albright and others, again, repairs of the breach. And what too many people say is that you have a Democratic Party infrastructure that is fixated on white suburban women in white and educated voters without realizing that you are leaving votes on the table where you have a lot of black people, especially in southern states. I mean, Georgia, the number of black people who did not vote in 2024 was insane. North Carolina, you need those 2 Senate seats come next year. Texas has the most eligible black voters anywhere in the country. You've got a Senate race coming up next year as well. So what is the priority to invest in black voters in these southern states?
Yeah, let me just tell you, what you've been saying is exactly what I said on the campaign, and we're already doing. We made investments, a 6-figure investment in Mississippi to help them elect local candidates. You know, it's one of the largest investments in recent memory in Mississippi, and we did it again earlier than ever before. We've made investments in states like Georgia and in North Carolina already. I was the first person on the ground in Texas helping them with their redistricting. I've already been in Texas 4 times, and it's a reality that the new battlefield for the Democratic Party is the American South. And what's driving the population growth there and giving us opportunity, of course, is the black community, black and brown communities, Latino communities, African-American communities throughout the South. You're absolutely right, and we're making those investments already. You know this. I shared this on your show the last time I was on. The 5 fastest growing states in the country right now are Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Texas, followed by Florida. 6 of the 10 fastest growing states are all in the South, meaning that after the 2032 reapportionment and after the 2030 census, that's where the power is going to be. That's where the next presidential race in 2032 will be decided. That's where the power for majorities in Congress will be decided. And so we're already laying down a marker right now. We've made investments in those states in the South, and we'll continue to do it. As I said, I've been in Florida already 4 times. I was down in Georgia campaigning for Deborah Shigley, our candidate running for state senate there. And while she didn't win, she overperformed by a significant margin. I spend a lot of time down in the U.S. South, and it's really important part of our calculus moving forward. But let me say this, which is really important. We are not going to anymore as a Democratic Party take any community of color for granted. Now, you're right. I would disagree with you a little bit that it's not that the U.S. South is unorganized, right? It's the fact that we have a number, Texas is not a red state as an example. It's a non-voting state. And Mississippi is a good example. We have 40% of their population is African Americans, right? And it's a low turnout state. And the reality is if we change the laws there, made it easier for people to vote, got rid of some of these Jim Crow era voting restrictions that are on the books in states throughout the South, made it easier for people to participate in their democracy.
Right, but Ken, the only way you can make it easier to change the laws if people are organized and mobilized to vote. And look,
I don't disagree.
I mean, when Beto, perfect example. Okay, you said you've been down to Texas. All right, there are 254 counties in Texas. How many county Democratic offices do you have?
Well, this is one thing I've been actually talking about because that's a good example of where we're not organized.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So there are 254. For the longest, it was only 81. That's 2/3 of the state where you do not have a county Democratic presence. Ain't no way you're gonna win if you're not in 160 plus counties. And so when I say not organized, what I'm literally talking about, look, when Beto lost to Greg Abbott for governor, 75% of people 30 and under did not vote. And so,
the crazy thing here, to your point, right? And it's why I campaigned on in every county strategy, making sure that in every part of this country we have elected Democratic Party leadership that's organizing voters. To your point, did you know that there's 3,244 counties in this country, and a quarter of them have no elected Democratic Party leadership? That's why we have an every county strategy, and that's why we're challenging our state parties and other party committees to actually make sure we do the basic organizing work you're talking about. Think about this, and it's quite remarkable. When you don't have elected county leadership, Democratic Party leadership, there's a 3 to 5% decrease in statewide vote share, Democratic vote share, and the same corresponding decrease in congressional Democratic vote vote share, meaning we lose votes in those places because we're not organized. It's pretty simple. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what you and I are saying here. And so some of this is just basic organizing work that needs to be done. And we're doing it right now with this every county strategy. But let me say this. I think the reality is that's one step. And the reason why I challenge you on this a little bit is because we see that there are a number of attempts. I was down with Latasha and others today at the Supreme Court during the Louisiana versus Calais case, because this is a critical ruling that's going to come that's going to completely gut the Voting Rights Act and make it even harder for people to be heard in their democracy. This is what's going on. The Republicans in this country know they're on the wrong side of demographics. They know they're on the wrong side of the issues. And at the end of the day, instead of going out and trying to earn the support of the Black community, going out and trying to earn the support of Latinos, going out and trying to earn the support of Asian voters, what are they trying to do? They're trying to make it harder for communities of color to be heard in their democracy. It's shameful on the 60th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act that this court and the Republicans, under the direction of Donald Trump, are trying to completely gut the Voting Rights Act. You know this better than I do. People literally died for this right to vote. The civil rights movement was about what was passed in 1965 with the Voting Rights Act. All of us should be up in arms about what's happening right now in the Supreme Court. I was proud to be down there today with civil rights organizations, legal rights groups, voting rights groups, people who are nonpartisan, who know that what this court may do is completely wrong. Again, this is what it's about, Roland. When we think about why, a state like Mississippi that has 40% African Americans and African Americans have no power down there, it's deliberate. It's by design. And we have to make sure we're standing up and organizing and making sure that people can vote.
Yep. Well, listen, we're there as well. So it's a lot of work to do, and it's going to be darker times after today's oral arguments. I am more than prepared, and I've been calling this for years, definitely all year, for this right-wing Supreme Court to gut the Voting Rights Act, to screw Black political power. And I keep saying to the Black voters, I need 70, 80, 90% turnout, because if we vote our numbers, we can repeal this. We can take over state Supreme Courts. We can win statewide office. We can break these Republican supermajorities in the legislature. But it has to be, again, organized and mobilized efforts. Ken Martin, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Roland.
Quick break. We come back. We're going to talk Afrotech Conference happening in a couple of weeks. We're going to be there on the ground. Right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
It's your boy Earthquake, giving Roland Martin something to do, because he don't know what to do. He's from Texas. Ain't his fault.
Folks, this year, Afrotech will take place at Houston's George R. Brown Convention Center beginning October 27. Thousands will attend the Building What's Next conference, which will feature prominent figures such as Stacey Abrams, Microsoft's Mustafa Suleyman, and Google's Adrian Lofton, alongside thousands of Black engineers, founders, and creators shaping the future. AI, obviously, going to be a huge, huge issue. Jeff Nelson joins us from Atlanta. Jeff, first of all, for folks who don't know, how long has Afrotech been happening?
This is the 9th year of Afrotech. So first of all, thank you so much for having me, Roland. We're excited for year number 9. Next year will be year number 10, and we've got some great things planned this year as we look towards the future.
And so because I went 1 year, you used to be in Oakland, correct?
That's right. So this is our 2nd year in Houston. And let me talk a little bit about our strategy in terms of where we have Afrotech. So we started this conference in San Francisco and Oakland because the thing that we heard 10 years ago was that tech companies couldn't find Black talent. And so we said, we'll bring the Black talent to you. So we took it to the heart of Silicon Valley, and that's where we had our first several Afrotechs. After the pandemic, we made the decision to move to Texas. And we had Afrotech in Austin for a couple of years, and then we moved to Houston last year, and we'll be returning this year. And the thinking is this: we want to go to a majority Black city. All the economic activity that comes with Afrotech and all the people that we bring to the city, we want to make sure that not only are we exposing our audience to the latest and greatest in tech, but we are leaving an impact on a community that looks like us and is going to benefit from all that we do.
So who attends? Who is it for? For the person who's not an engineer, does it make sense for them to attend Afrotech?
Absolutely. Afrotech is really the intersection of community and culture, as well as being a tech conference. We welcome anyone who is in tech or anyone who is tech adjacent. There is something at Afrotech for everyone. As a matter of fact, we've got a couple of new things this year that will appeal to people who are not directly in tech. In particular, we have a renewed focus on health. Roland, I don't have to tell you that we are at a pivotal point in this country in terms of just science and medicine and health. There are questions about whether we can even trust the government to give us accurate information as it pertains to health in general, but especially for communities such as the African American community or underrepresented communities that historically suffer from comorbidities and other health disparities. And so we have a renewed focus on health at Afrotech this year. We will be featuring a number of medical professionals as well as health CEOs to come and talk about patient care and health technology at Afrotech. We have a creator summit as well. So for our creatives who are interested in understanding how AI is impacting their work, how they can use it, but also protect themselves in an age where AI can generate content, we have something for them as well. And then lastly, I'll note that we have a lot of content for our entrepreneurs as well. We will be having a founder summit, and all of that is going to be bookended by our content related to AI, innovation, and cybersecurity.
So all these things are happening, and you also are up against massive Black job loss, especially related to Black women. Tech space, we see the same thing. We're seeing a massive attack when it comes to DEI. How has the anti-DEI backlash impacted Afrotech?
Yeah, so first of all, I just want to underscore and emphasize what you're saying. And this hits home because there are people that we work with. So we're fortunate in that over 150 companies are showing up to Afrotech, looking to hire, looking to network with Black talent, Black and underrepresented talent. So there are companies that are still showing up. But the reality is that we are in an unprecedented time. I got an email earlier this week from someone who was a champion of ours at a particular company who was championing their company sponsoring Afrotech, just got laid off. And they emailed and said, hey, I'm on the other side now. Can you help me get to Afrotech and help me find a job? And so we've done a number of things through our nonprofit, rmblavity.org, where we've given hundreds of tickets to women who have been laid off. We've partnered with a number of organizations to make sure that we can bring access to college students and others who have been laid off. But you're right that we have sort of this dual set of challenges. There are attacks on DE&I, so there's a question of whether companies even think it's necessary to go to conferences like Afrotech. We also have a broader economic climate where companies are laying off. And then I'll also know the third headwind that's against us, AI. I'm in tech, and as much as I love AI, and I think it's great, there are companies who are using AI as an excuse that maybe they don't need to hire talent. Maybe they certainly don't need to go and hire underrepresented talent. So there are headwinds. I am happy to report that this year companies are still showing up, but the future is what we're focused on. And so part of our pivot this year with Afrotech is to make sure that both our sponsors and our partners, as well as our attendees, know that this is a conference and this is an event where you can find a job, but it's also more than that. It's a place where you can hear the latest and greatest on innovation and technology, where companies are going to be talking about new products they're releasing, where we're going to bring other tech adjacent or non-tech disciplines to bear, like health, like creators as well. So we're thinking about the future, both to make sure that our Afrotech is still relevant, but also making sure that we can level up our attendees and prepare for that future as well.
Again, the conference officially begins when?
It begins the last week of October, October 27th through 31st, October 27th through the 31st at the George R. Brown Convention Center in Houston, Texas.
All right, then. Well, we're actually going to be broadcasting from the convention October 29th and October 30th. And so look forward to bringing those stories to our audience right here on the Black Star Network.
Thank you so much, Roland. We're looking forward to it.
All right, Jeff, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Again, it's a whole lot we've been talking about, a whole lot that we've been covering. And, you know, listen, we do our best trying to get folk to understand what is going on, how we are impacted, and that's what we do. And so we're going to keep doing that. This is it for us on today's show. Now, here's the deal. Tomorrow, we're going to be on location tomorrow, live from Virginia State University. We are going to be, of course, critical elections happening in Virginia. Who will control the state house? Who will control the state senate? You've got statewide elections that are happening. We're going to be talking to candidates as well. It is open to the public. We look forward to seeing y'all in the Virginia State University Multi-Purpose Center. Again, we're going to be broadcasting from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern at Virginia State. Now, let me walk y'all through some stuff. Doors open at 5 o'clock. Now, ain't no guaranteed seating and all that stuff, so y'all need to get there on time. Come on through. Doors open at 5 o'clock. And again, we're going to be talking about politics, talking about the issues that matter, speaking to what is going on. And again, how do we also mobilize and organize? We talk about mobilize and organize all of the time. That's what we're going to be doing. And listen, I've said it repeatedly, when we maximize our power, then we have the ability to be able to impact who is going to get elected. And so that's what we have to do. And so I'm really hoping folks turn out. We want students there as well. And here's the deal. Where we have HBCUs, it's amazing. A lot of students don't realize they can vote in those locations. And so that's also hugely important for us to do. And so I look forward to being back on the campus of Virginia State. 2016, December 2016, I was on campus. I gave the commencement address at Virginia State. And so look forward to going back. And so when I was there, they gave me this jacket right here. So I need to get some new gear. So my frat brother, who's the president, y'all know we're going to be looking to wear. So we'll see what happens, but I'm going to be wearing on the show tomorrow. So look forward to that. And so looking forward to seeing all the folks again at Virginia State tomorrow. Doors open at 5 o'clock. We'll be on campus. Friday, I'll be out Friday, and of course we have a show. So the guest host, look forward to that. I'm going to be speaking to the Canton, Ohio. I'll be at Kent State, Canton, Ohio, NAACP. So I'll be there as well. So a whole lot going on. Again, we want y'all to support the work we do. First of all, YouTube folks, let me see how many of y'all should be hitting that like button. How many we got? Just 1,000? Come on, y'all. We should be at 1,500 likes. So y'all hurry up, hit that like button. If y'all want to support the work that we do, join our Bring the Fuck fan club. I told you there's a whole lot going on, y'all. We're launching a new daily midday news show. We got a weekly show coming. I am working on a business show, a health show. We're completely redoing blackstarnetwork.com, turning it to a news portal. That stuff is happening as well. We're completely focused on that, and we want y'all support. The goal is to raise $1 million by December 31st. We have already crossed 200,000, so let's keep going. If you want to contribute to us via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. Stripe QR code, you see it right here. You can also use the Stripe QR code for credit cards as well. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Checks and money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. Of course, download the Black Star Network app. Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available at bookstores nationwide. Also, if you want to get our Roland Martin Unfiltered Black Star Network swag, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. We got shirts. We got all kinds of stuff there. Mugs, wall art, you name it, we got it. Also, all these products here, you see to my left, these are all black-owned products right here. We got them on shopblackstarnetwork.com. And so you see these backpacks. We've got some skincare products. We got these chips right here. We've got black crossword puzzles. We got black toilet paper. We got all, yeah, we got, of course, you got the, come on, pull, give me a wide shot, y'all. You got, of course, the smocks right here. We got the smocks, all this stuff. Again, we've got sauces. Remember, we got Mrs. Pruitt's Gourmet Cha-Cha Hot Sauce, all kinds of stuff, all black-owned companies. And so we want y'all to support these companies by going to our site, shopblackstarnetwork.com. Go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. To support these companies. We always are talking about how do we recirculate the black dollar. Well, one of the ways we can do that is if we buy from our own. These are entrepreneurs who are doing the good work. Also, of course, we want you to download the app Fanbase. It's a great social media app. Let's build this up. We want to be able to have millions of subscribers on Fanbase. And so let's do that. Go to Fanbase. Go to Fanbase. Go to Fanbase. Again, you want to invest. They've raised $13.4 million. $13.4 million. So go to startengine.com/fanbase. Startengine.com/fanbase to invest. So that's it, folks. I'll see y'all tomorrow right here on, give me the wide shot, get on blackstarnetwork.com. Again, live from Virginia State University. Support our black-owned products, support black-owned media, support our HBCUs. I'll see you tomorrow. Holla!